Good morning, hockey fans. This is Steven Eisler with HeisHockey.com, the Victorious Hockey Company. You are watching the Junior Hockey Morning Show. We are on the World Sports Broadcasting Network, WSBN.TV, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Today is Friday, May 12th. And as you can see that pretty face next to mine, that is Eric Ballard. He will be joining us this morning. Good morning, Eric.
Morning, Steven.
We get the quick 15-minute show. We're going to run down the North American Hockey League second week of divisional final. And tonight's NHL games of importance. The Panthers will try to eliminate the Maple Leafs in Toronto tonight. And the Oilers visit the Vegas Golden Knights in Nevada tonight. Two big games. Oilers are up. No, sorry. Oilers and Golden Knights are tied at 2-2. Meanwhile, Panthers will try to knock the Maple Leafs out. They're leading the series 3-1. Eric, it's hard to be a Maple Leafs fan and be optimistic. After all the things we've seen with Toronto, they can blow it better than anybody else on the planet. What do you think?
You know, it took 19 years for them to get past the first round. I think that don't count them out. I'm kind of partial to the Panthers just because Jamie Compon, assistant coach there, and had the luxury of having the Panthers here in Jackson this year, and they practiced at our facility for a day and a half, and they worked out in my gym at the rink and got to know some of the guys and some of the coaches and trainers, and so it's kind of cool to see that happening, especially when people kind of counted them down and out. But I'd like to see Toronto at least get one back tonight. I just don't think they have it in the tank, though. I think it's going to be Panthers over the Leafs tonight.
Toronto last won the Cup in 1967. I was still in diapers and crapping my pants. I'm hoping that they're not going to wait till that happens again, but it's possible. It's interesting. My first trip in the car yesterday after the trip to Las Vegas was with one of the Golden Knights owners. Timothy Bush was in Orlando last night. Very nice guy. Kind of ironic. We're talking about the buildings in Las Vegas. I had said I just left the center of the what's it called, Lifeguard Arena in Henderson for 3 days. And he says, yeah, we spent a ton of money on that place. I haven't even been inside it yet. I couldn't help but laugh.
Yeah. What a problem to have, right? You spend 25, 30 million on something you've never been inside of it.
Well, the Black Bears and Warriors opened up the second round of NAHL playoff action with 2 wins, while the Central and Midwest division battles are still locked up at a game apiece. We'll dive into that right away. The first set we'll talk about is Maryland at Maine. Maryland leads the series 2-0. Black Bears made it look easy with a pair of wins at home last week. The Nordiques stabilized their ownership position this week. The team was sold. And it's unclear if the coach, Mike Pincheski, will actually return or not. This series will end tonight unless Maine is able to play a whole lot better than they did last weekend in Maryland. Eric?
You know what? I think Maine's I think Maine might be taking an early exit. Maryland's been playing really well. Clinton Mymock just became general manager of the year, I believe, for the Black Bears as well. So I think they're the team right now to make some noise, them in Oklahoma. But I say Maryland takes them out.
Speaking of the Warriors, they're at Shreveport tonight. They lead the series 2-0. The Warriors steamrolled the Bugs in the series opening games in Oklahoma City. It is going to be interesting to see how Jason Campbell's group is able to respond tonight at home. Look for a ridiculous amount of fans in the building at the George's Pond. I think they'll probably get close. No, they'll sell the place out, but I bet they get 5,000 plus. What do you think, Eric?
What a great town, right? I mean, Shreveport had a Central Hockey League team forever, with Scotty Muscat in that group. But, it's a really cool story with Garrett Roth and the Warriors. I mean, Garrett was a longtime assistant coach in Bismarck and has been around the game a long time. I'm really happy for him. I don't see Shreveport putting up. I just don't see it. I see Oklahoma closing them out. I think it's going to be a lot of fans. It's going to be loud and rowdy, but I think Oklahoma's going to be prepared for it.
I see that series going back to OKC.
Ooh, all right.
All
There's
right.
some salmon in that deal, right?
There's what? Some salmon? No way, buddy.
Yep, you can send that straight up to Jackson.
Austin at St. Cloud, series tied at 1-1. Central Division battle. Bruins rebounded from Friday's overtime loss with a solid 6-1 win over the Norsemen on Saturday. The series continues this week in St. Cloud. You know, St. Cloud doesn't get a whole lot of fans compared to Austin, but I would imagine that a pile of Bruins fans will be making that trip tonight.
Yeah, it's just across town, really. I mean, it's not that far away, so it's kind of neat to see St. Cloud bouncing back. They've been kind of middle of the pack, and then at the top, and then back to the middle. 6-1. That was a solid win where Steve Howard and his group rebounding after game one. I think this series might go to the full 5.
I think so too. And considering Corey Millen, their head coach, has been really on the sidelines since the opening game against Aberdeen. He suspended again. Clearly the league doesn't like Corey Millen on the bench. But it doesn't matter. When those guys are dialed in, and Corey has his teams dialed in, you know he's going to be prepared for this week, for tonight's game and tomorrow. So you're right. I see this series going back to Austin for the final game.
Yeah, no question. Corey, I coached against him when he was with the Avalanche up in Alaska. When I was in Fresno. I watched him play as a young kid, played for the Gophers and played for the U.S. Olympic team, and got to know him. There's no question. You're right. He prepares his teams really well. And when it comes to time to win, boy, I tell you, they're a hard team to play against.
You know, it was funny back when this is like 95, 96, no, 94, 95, when the NHL was on strike. Corey was married to Doc Cusac's daughter, Kelly Cusack, and was up in Anchorage during the NHL strike and skating with the Aces. And, he's a small guy, not really a big guy, especially compared to Tim Molly and the boys, Keith Street. But to watch that man skate was ridiculous. And it was like 3 strides, and he's all the way across that big Alaskan ice, Olympic-sized ice at Sullivan Arena. And just a joy to watch the guy skate. And, he brought so much to the table for Alaska hockey, although he wasn't an Alaskan person, technically. His ties to Alaska were pure. And when he coached the Avalanche, he was involved in youth hockey with the Alaska All-Stars. I'm always going to be a Corey Millen fan. It doesn't matter. The Norsemen and Chris Canavati's group, love those guys. They do things for the right reasons. Corey is, he is a passionate hockey coach. And when you have those kind of guys, if they're disrespected, he's old school, he's going to bite back. I'm like, heck, I would be the same way, Eric. I think you'd be the same way if some 20-year-old referee was snapping at you and disrespecting you on the bench in front of your team. I'm sure you're going to snap back. I am. I don't know if I'm going to throw anything at them. That's why I don't keep water bottles on their bench close to me.
Right.
It's interesting.
Corey, like you said, Corey's been there, not only as a player, but as a coach. And you're right. He coaches with a ton of passion, and he's a fire plug. And listen, he's won a Robbie. He won a Robbie with the Wilderness, him and that group up there years ago. And he knows what it takes. So, the Austin Bruins got their hands full with St. Cloud for sure. I think it's going to go 5 games deep. And, they're both great coaches, great organizations. But I think Millen's group might take a bite out of the Bruins down the stretch.
Very good. Speaking of the Minnesota Wilderness, back in your neck of the woods, Wisconsin is at Minnesota tonight. Series tied at 1-1. Wilderness shut out the Wendigo 1-0 Friday before losing in overtime 3-2 on Saturday. Series resumes tonight in Cloquet, Minnesota. Eric, not a big fan of Chris Hedlund with Wisconsin, the general manager, or Dave Boyce. But you got to hand it to these 2 head coaches. Both come out of the USHL, got head coaching jobs in the NAHL. I'm hearing both will end up back in the USHL next year. Hearing both are not happy with the general managers. Hearing both would rather see those general managers go away, and maybe they stay. But Halita has done so much with his team in Wisconsin, kind of all in for the Robertson Cup. Late push. A lot of good trades, traded away the farm for this season. I think they're making a run. And I think the Wendigo were kind of surprised of how Minnesota played in Wisconsin last week.
Yeah, I'm not a real in depth with the Wendigo at all. I really, but I don't know Skinner personally, but all everything I've heard about him, he's just a great coach. He understands the game, good tactician. That's both really good teams. Is just looking at their stats, but obviously Minnesota-Wisconsin rivalry a little bit there, no matter where the players are from. But I'm going to take the Wilderness in this series overall at the end.
It's interesting how Skinner has been able to get past all the drama that happened in the offseason in Cloquet, with the coach getting in trouble, Phelps, and somehow I still don't figure it out how Dave Boyce kind of skirted that whole thing. But he's been able to get a good team on the ice and really keep the BS out of his locker room. And to be able to pull that off all season long has been fantastic. The Wilderness have played well, really from A to Z this season, better than I've ever seen them play. I mean, since Corey Millen left. And it's interesting that there are so many former Wilderness head coaches out there that are not big fans of Dave Boyce, but are really pulling for Skinner to do something with this team in spite of their differences with Boyce. They had an ownership change over the offseason. The new guy has given Boyce less rope and given Skinner more authority. So maybe that's what the difference is this year. But you got to like what you see. And I think it's kind of like a soap opera. The Wendigo look good, but I think Minnesota is going to prevail in the end.
Yeah, you have to give props to Skinner and that group at this point. I mean, the deck was stacked against them with that whole deal. Extremely unfortunate situation for sure. And being from northern Minnesota, it's a testament to the ownership and the leadership of that group to come out of that situation where they're at, because nobody's more critical than small town northern Minnesota's. I'm born and raised there, so I understand it's a tough deal to come out of that. And what they're doing, and I don't know what their attendance is and their fan base is. I think it's went down ever since Millen's been gone, and I think at that time his associate head coach was Brian Meisner. So yeah. Mouse and Corey won that Robbie, but it's tough. You take one of two top sons out of the Cloquet between Corey Millen and Jamie Langenbrunner, and but no, they've done a good job. And it's really interesting how that northern area has rallied around this Skinner and that group.
It'd be interesting to see the Robertson Cup come down to the four guys, probably that Frankenfeld and the NAHL really don't want to see him playing. It could be Maryland very easily. They're not big fans of Black Bear sports. It could be St. Cloud. The league's not really fond of the Norsemen right now, or Corey Millen. Could be Shreveport or Oklahoma. Either one of those teams out of the South Division would be good. And then imagine that it's Minnesota. You have three of the four teams that have, really a lot of scandal this year, some interesting things going on. We got about a minute left. What dream matchup do you see in the final for Robertson Cup?
Ooh, dream matchup? I would have to say probably the Wilderness and the St. Cloud Norsemen. And the finals. That'd be really neat.
Excellent. Well, let's wrap this up, folks. Eric, you got your coffee there?
Oh, yeah.
You got your coffee cup there? You ready? Cheers.
Here, buddy.
All right. Folks, enjoy your